I missed you guys. Thank you for your patience. I have been reading this book right here on your behalf. I have been on a magical journey with the spirit world. In today's video, I am going to share with you my review of the Afterlife Frequency. So let's jump in and begin. This book is called The Afterlife Frequency. The scientific, this is going to be important, the scientific proof. The scientific proof of spiritual contact and how that awareness will change your life. And this is by Mark Anthony, who is a really famous spirit medium and also a lawyer. He is certainly on a quest to prove to the world that there is an afterlife, that life exists beyond death, and that indeed it is possible to communicate with the spirit world. Although the word scientific proof is used here right on the title, this book does not utilize the scientific method. And although I wish that this book would appeal to a scientific audience, like practicing scientists, physicists, electrical engineers, I don't feel that this book would convince anyone who was very scientifically minded. Although the book does not utilize the scientific method, it does mention many scientific theories, mostly from quantum physics. I've taken some notes. The basic premise of the book is the idea that everything is energy vibrating at different rates. The author talks a lot about how we know scientifically that energy cannot be created or destroyed. We also know scientifically that there's a connection between our consciousness and energy. And this is evidenced by things like the EEG study, which is a neurological test that can actually gauge changes in our brain waves and consciousness. So if everything is energy and there's an energy that is tied to our thought and our consciousness, as evidenced by things like the EEG studies. And if we know that energy cannot be created and destroyed, then that consciousness that we measure scientifically, it must not be destroyed at the moment of death, but rather it must somehow, some way be transferred and continue on in its existence. And Mark Anthony says that this is exactly what happens. And he calls this the electromagnetic soul. And he suggests that myself and yourself, your true self, that we are electromagnetic souls who exist beyond these physical bodies. Mark suggests that to experience ourselves and embody ourselves here in the material world, that we must lower our frequency and enter into these more dense material bodies. But he suggests that we belong to the spirit world and that our energy returns to the spirit world at the time of our passing. He says that the difference between this material world and the spirit world is a matter of frequency. To paint a picture, Mark brings up the idea of a fan, like a ceiling fan. Picture a ceiling fan. So if a ceiling fan is not turned on and you look at the ceiling, You can see every blade of the fan. But then you flip the switch, you turn the fan on, and it starts spinning, spinning, spinning. It starts turning, 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 turning really, really quickly. It goes faster, 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 faster. And then when you look at it, what do you see? Nothing. A blur or nothing. So as it increases in its spinning, in its frequency, it becomes invisible. And Mr. Mark Anthony says the same thing happens to you and me. At the moment of our passing, when our soul becomes freed of the density of our physical body and returns to its pure energy state. This is the premise of the book. Mark Anthony admits that spirit communication is a bit of a mystery, and I'll agree on that. He says that although the mystery of spirit communication can not yet be captured by science, it one day will. That day just has not yet come. I hope with every fiber of my being that he is right. One of my greatest wishes in the whole of the universe would be to see a convergence between science and spirituality. And he suggests that it is only a matter of time. According to Mark Anthony, a medium is someone who has learned to adapt their brainwaves in order to be able to tune into the higher frequency of the spirit realm. As the medium tunes their brainwave frequency into the frequency of the spirit world, he suggests that our departed loved ones who wish to communicate with us also adapt their frequency to the frequency of the medium in order to pass on information, and that a thought itself may very well be an energy which is perceptible to the medium. My personal thoughts. This was a pretty tough book for me to read. I started it on Christmas Eve and I finished it about 2 weeks ago. So why was it difficult? There were parts of the book that were a little bit dark. There was crime mentioned in the book. There was a lot of mention, as you can imagine, of death, including some violent deaths. As someone who is a psychic, myself actually a professional psychic, but also like a very sensitive empath, there were parts of the book that were very difficult to read. And early in the book, I could really feel Mark Anthony's lawyer side coming out. Like, I could feel his desperation to convince a skeptical audience of the existence of the spirit world. I could feel the stress of trying to make this argument without true scientific data or proof. I definitely experienced a lot of stress while reading this book, especially the earlier parts of the book where he tried to bring in a lot of different scientific theories and match them to mediumship. But I found my own scientific brain being unconvinced by his particular arguments. Reading this book was like going on a journey, and during the time that I read this book, I really came into more of a profound relationship with the art of mediumship. I even spoke to some of your loved ones on the other side, and this was all so much more than I thought that it was gonna be. I guess my main note about the book is that I think it's really only appropriate for a very specific audience. And The ideal reader of this book would be a person who is spiritually curious, open-minded, willing to think beyond that which is fully known, a person who's scientifically curious, but not scientifically educated. I think the ideal person to read this book would be probably an individual who has experienced some kind of unexplained phenomenon or has experienced some mystery, some spiritual mystery, or something that seems like contact with the afterlife and wishes to learn more about a theory for how that could be possible. In my opinion, the best chapter in this book was chapter 4, where Mark talks about what he calls RAFT, which is his 4-step approach to recognizing and harnessing the positive power of messages from the afterlife frequency. And you guys, I found so much value in the RAFT method that I'm going to be sharing all about it in my very next video. So if you would like to learn how to utilize RAFT to tune into the afterlife frequency and communicate with the spirit world, please come back for my next video, which will be coming later this week. Thank you so much for your patience as I took 6 months to review this book, which you have selected. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but I'm so glad you're here back with me today and that you're here on the channel. Thank you for watching. Many blessings and namaste.